If you have questions, concerns, and are just lost when it comes to planning for retirement, meet Steve Hoyle and Derek Caldwell of the Hoyle Financial Group. You know, Steve, I was talking to some people the other day just about how crazy AI is. I mean, it's everywhere. Everyone's got it on their phone now. I think it's a really, really great tool. It's really good with coming up with ideas or kind of tightening up a couple ideas, what have you. I definitely don't think it's a replacement. And I bring that up because a lot of people are turning to AI and saying, hey, here's all my accounts. Build me a retirement plan. What do you say to that?
Well, Jess, I think that you need to use AI where it's strong, and I think it can be a great tool, but you have to be realistic. It's funny that you brought that up today. I flew back this last week from Amarillo to Dallas and sat next to a guy, and he sees me on TV, and he pulled up his app and showed me how AI was making all of his investment choices. And I said, fantastic, until you make one wrong one. And I mean, he was using about 98% AI and about 2% of his brain. And so I think that's really, really scary, Jess, to be that reliant on something. And, you know, I think AI is great, but I want to reach out to that guy in about 12 months and see how AI is going for him. Because, I mean, he could suffer a huge loss.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing is here, AI is a great tool, right? Again, it's not a replacement, not for something like this, because listen, if it's making your investment choices or what have you and doing all the things, there's a reason why Steve's been so successful for nearly 40 years, guys. He's educated in this. He is constantly kind of changing with the times as rules and regulations and ideas and strategies change. And there's also just that human element of, hey, by the way, this is my life savings. This is so important to me, Steve. I want to make sure I like you, you like me. We have a good rapport together. It's a relationship so that I know when and if things go down or bad in my world, I can call you and go, Steve, we got to figure something out. I need X, Y, or Z because this happened. I mean, it's about that personal relationship.
Oh, absolutely it is. You know, I put AI right up there with your brother-in-law, your neighbor, the TikTok advisor, somebody on social media. I have a lot of people come in and will say, you know, I heard this on TikTok. Oh, really? That's interesting. Do me a favor, go find out the credentials of that guy on TikTok. And Jess, you would be surprised. They have zero professional training. It's really interesting. One of the things I think social media, brother-in-law, sister-in-law, neighbors, all that are great about, it gets people in the zone of thinking about doing something for the future with financial planning. You know, it all starts with an idea. And, you know, I tell people, your situation is so different than your sister-in-law's, but at least she got you to start thinking about getting off zero and doing something. Because, you know, I really think procrastination wrecks a financial future. You know, we say so often on this show, and Derek Caldwell, our chief operating officer, came up with this, Jess, but he said, give me 2 hours or give your boss 2 more years. And Jess, I see that happen all the time. So I want to tell the listeners today, come see us. Call us. Let's do a Zoom, but let's get started most of all. Either give us 2 hours or give your boss 2 more years. And, you know, remember, one financial mistake can wipe out that whole financial future. Call us today or go to retiretexasstyle.com. Let's get together.
So at what age do people want to retire? Believe it or not, there was a recent study by Natixis, I guess is how you say it. They found that the average age is 62, but it goes by group. It's broken down like this. It says millennials, by the way, that's age 25 to 40. They say they want to retire at 59. Generation X, that's age 41 to 56. They say 60. And then you got the baby boomers out there, 57 to 75, that say 68 sounds like a pretty good age here. So why do you think that the group that's in reality closest to retirement, they believe that they have to wait? We're talking about the baby boomers here.
I really think they're more realistic about the numbers. I think they're starting to do the back test. People my age are starting to go, wait, we need a few more years to save money. The younger ones are, I'm going to go buy a new BMW and a new house this year. We'll figure it out down the road. I mean, I just think that it's really important. I think it's interesting. And, you know, but I'm going to tell you that I think younger people, too, are either really good with money or kind of horrible with money. There's not an in-between. I think people are planners, you know, and I also think it's interesting. If you have kids later in life, are you more prepared for college for your kids and for retirement. I was last night on my phone doing some research about that, because the psychology of when people start thinking about what I need to do about retirement. I had a lady come in and see us, and she had all these buckets of money, and she said, why don't have them all in one? Well, some of them are Roth, which are tax-free if you've waited the 5 years and do it correctly. Some are IRA, some are after tax, some are inheritance. We're going to use that money like a symphony. We're going to use the right money at the right time. And it was really interesting. She said, well, I'm going to take my Social Security at 62 in 4 months. And I said, oh, really? Well, let me show you something. If you let that roll up all the way to age 70 and you use that bucket of money that you inherited where you've paid the taxes on the majority of it, and you took that as income to age 70, look how much money you would have. And then I started showing her inflation numbers, how to inflation-proof her retirement. And what I said was, a lot of people take that Social Security at full retirement age between 66 and 67. But with inflation we've had, 70 kind of can become the magic number for some people. She got so excited, Jess, she left. When she came back the next week, I'm telling you what, I don't think she ever slept. She had all these spreadsheets, and it was so fun to say, she got it. She got it. She understood inflation. She understood taxes. She understood the impact of estate planning, leaving money to her kids that had the taxes paid on it. She got it. Started doing this when I was 25. Getting together with people that are still our clients today, and they got it, and they're doing amazing things with their money for themselves, their kids, their church, their foundations, maybe the college they went to. It's so fun, Jess, watching people, what they can do with the money. So I just want to challenge you today. Figure out what your thing is in retirement, and let's work backwards.
Yeah, I think that's all part of the equation there, is working backwards. Doesn't matter if you want to retire at 59, 60, 68, you name it. Everybody's situation is different. Can you, will you, should you? These are all questions that you're going to go down the line and answer with Steve one-on-one. I love that example you gave about that woman that came in with the spreadsheets, because not only does it show involvement, which I love, right? I want people to be involved in their financial future, and just, my gosh, it's your life savings. You should be involved. But it also shows what a proactive opportunity it is, and it's a joint situation where you're working with Steve and making these decisions.
I want to challenge the listeners out there. Call us at Hoyle Financial. Let's partner. Let's figure out that retirement. Let's figure out that equation. Let's figure out what you know and what you don't know, because what you don't know, you don't know. But what I want to tell you is together, we're better together, and we can figure out retirement for you. I get excited talking about it, and I can't wait for the first 5 callers today to call us, and let's get started on that retirement equation today.
It's been 43 years since Congress has really touched Social Security, and believe it or not, now we've got a big problem. In about 6 years, the trust fund runs dry, which means benefits could be cut roughly by 23%. And back in 2005, lawmakers had a chance to fix it by raising the tax just 2%. That would have actually had the system funded for 75 years. They passed on that. Then in 2015, the fix jumped to 3%. And then again, they did nothing. And today, now it's closer to 4%. And still no action. Social Security feels more like a guaranteed paycheck in retirement, Steve. So if that paycheck shrinks, what other reliable income sources do you look at? And bottom line, how do you decide which ones make sense for who?
To start with, Social Security was never meant to be a retirement plan. It was meant to be a subsidy to help you in the retirement years. And, also having taxes on it was a horrible thing too. But for most people, it's still going to be taxed. But I think these benefit cuts just are real. And I really think they're very realistic. I didn't think so, because I've always said the people that vote are the people that will keep from having that reduction. They're the people on Social Security. But that's not right anymore. I really don't believe that. And Jess, I'm going to tell you that even in our industry, several companies that I deal with have put plans together. If Social Security reduces by 3%, this benefit kicks in, and it's huge. So when you see people in the financial sector planning for it, I think it's real. But I just think that people should really zone back and figure out Social Security to not be that much of your income plan. You need an income strategy that's predictable, sustainable, and that'll be there when you need it, Jess. You know, one of the things, I had a lady come in the other day and said the great thing about Social Security is it's inflation protected. What do you mean? She said, here's all these increases. Well, every time there's an increase, Medicare tax goes up. So there's not a real increase in it. And I think that's crazy. But I think current retirees that are planning on it are really hanging out there. And I think they need to come up with another plan for income. You know, Jess, that's one of the cornerstones that we do for people is put an income strategy together. And I think there's some annuities out there that are a great fit for a really strong income strategy. I think the great thing about it, Jess, is it's income that you will never outlive. And if you have a spouse, they can have that income for the rest of their life too. And I think that's really important. So I think that's one of the tools you could use. Also, the great thing about that annuity is you can have some of them roll up at 7% each year, 8%, 9%. So when you turn that income on, it's so much higher than most times you could grow your money to. So it's just all about income, income, income. Then having a strong tax plan to couple with that is really important. So I just think it's all about income and retirement, Jess. But, you know, we used to tell people that you need catch-up buckets, 5-6 years down the road. With this crazy inflation we're having and, gasoline costs and all that, it may be 2 or 3 years, so you really have to plan for that. But I think one of the things is we really need to look at your growth bucket and make sure that you're aligned with the risk that you're taking. Some people are not taking enough risk, and some people are taking way too much risk than they should. So I think that really couples in with income. But I think Social Security is something that you need to be realistic about. But Jess, so many people come to me and they say, at 62, I turned my Social Security on. What? You're still working. And then all of a sudden I have this clawback from the government. So you need to sit down with a professional like us and figure out that sweet spot of taking Social Security. Is that at age 70 or is that at full retirement age? We need to figure out what's right for you and really analyze it, how it works.
This might be the headline that you've literally been waiting for your entire life. From USA Today, they say maybe you don't need $1 million to retire at all. The article also notes that 97% of Americans have less than $1 million saved, yet 82% of retirees say that they have enough money and they're happy about retirement. And then retirees with limited savings have less room for error, meaning a single unexpected expense could put their financial stability at risk. So does this reinforce the idea that retirement is more about having a plan other than, just reaching a magic number?
So, Jess, I totally agree with you. I think so much retirement is about having that plan and not that number. So many Americans will say, when I retire, I'm going to need less money. I'm not going to be commuting to work. I'm not going to have payroll taxes, all those different expenses. Well, you're going to have more time to shop. You're going to have more time to run and play. And I have found that it takes more money in retirement. A lot of people go buy that dream house that they didn't even plan for, and they walk in our office on Monday morning and say, my in-laws did that. They all of a sudden went to an open house on a Saturday, went back on Sunday and bought it, and on Monday they had to figure out how to pay for it. It happens so much. But, I just think savings is only part of the puzzle. One of the really strong things is the drawdown, taking the right bucket of money at the right time. I also think that's like an orchestra. When the reeds play, when the tubas play, when different parts play, that's the same thing with your money. When to use qualified money, when to use after-tax money, when to use inheritance money, making sure you have that emergency fund. It's crazy. But I think, Jess, so often retirement, it's not a one-size-fits-all. It's different strokes for different folks. And I think that is so important, that you need to plan what you want in your retirement. Jess, some people want to stay home and just keep grandkids. Some people want to travel all 50 states. I think you've got to figure out what you want to do in retirement, and then let us help you back that back out to how much money you spend. each and every month. Jess, we have a client that came to us and said, every other year, I want to go to Europe. So we have a sinking fund. And every 2 years, they spend all that money. And then over the next 24 months, we grow that money again. And we're also inflation protecting that 24-month plan because it's going to cost more money in 2 years than it is today to go to Europe. So I think that's really important. But I also think, Jess, at the end of the day, thinking of how much money you have to be realistic. I've had people come to me and have not saved any money, and they say, I'm 4 years from retirement, and I'm going to save all this crazy money. Habits from the past predict habits from the future so often. So I think you have to be realistic, but it's never too late to get started. And that's what I tell people. If you'll call me now and you'll get started today, you're going to have time on your side. So it's never too late. I also tell people, if you're in retirement, come see us because I can find one thing that will make a pivotal difference in the rest of your retirement. I'm Steve Hoyle. I've been doing this 38 years. Let me put my past experience to work for you. Let's sit down and really figure out what's important for you in your retirement, and let's make it happen. Pick up that phone and call me today.
If you'd like to sit down with Steve and Derek or a member of the Hoyle Financial Group, visit retiretexasstyle.com.
Investment advice offered through Hoyle Wealth Management, a Texas-registered investment advisor able to provide investment advice in states where it's registered, exempt, or excluded from registration. Content contained herein should not be construed as an offer or solicitation for investment advice or for the purchase or sale of any security, insurance, or other investment product. Investments involve the risk of loss, including possible loss of principal. Please consult with a qualified financial, tax, accounting, or legal professional before implementing any ideas or strategies discussed here. Content provided is obtained from sources believed to be reliable but cannot be guaranteed as to its accuracy or completeness. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance products, including annuities offered through Steve Hoyle, Texas Insurance License 716036. Annuity guarantees rely on the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. Read your contract for restrictions, limitations, or penalties. Steve Hoyle is not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if Steve Hoyle is licensed in your state, please call 806-371-9473.